What if I told you that one Facebook video about our education has been seen by 80 million people? And what if the teacher behind that video believes the most important thing she teaches isn't how to paint or draw, but simply how to notice the world around us? If you've ever wondered whether art class really matters, or if you're an educator feeling like your creative subjects are being pushed into the margins, this conversation could be your lifeline. Today, I'm sitting down with Kate Driscoll, who spent 23 years as a primary classroom teacher before landing what she calls her dream job as an art specialist. Kate's approach turns everything you thought you knew about art education upside down. Forget endless replications of Van Gogh's Starry Night or those predictable seasonal pumpkin projects. Kate connects her 400 students with contemporary Australian artists whose murals they pass on weekend coffee runs with their parents. She has kids Zooming with artists in the UK whose grandchildren sit in her classroom. But here's what really matters. Kate's students leave her art room carrying something precious, not just a painting, but pride. Not just a craft project, but the confidence to look at any challenge and think, I could make something with that. In our conversation, Kate reveals how she builds creative autonomy in children as young as 5, why observation might be more important than technique, and she offers a powerful reminder to every educator who's ever questioned their impact. Just remember the joy that you bring. So, whether you're an art teacher looking for fresh inspiration, a classroom teacher wondering how to nurture creativity, or simply someone who believes in the power of art to transform lives, this episode will reignite your passion and give you practical strategies to use tomorrow. Let's dive in with Kate Driscoll. This is Solutions Teaching Strategies, the podcast that extends education beyond the classroom. A show that isn't just theory, but practical, try it tomorrow approaches for educators and caregivers to ensure every student finds their spark and receives the support they need to thrive. I am Olivia Wall, and I am so happy to be in conversation with the one and only Kate Driscoll. Let me tell you a little bit about Kate. Kate was a primary classroom teacher for 23 years before shifting to her role as an art specialist. This is her dream job, and she's been doing it for about the last 14 years. I have followed Kate on social for a very long time, and it's important to note that, Kate, your very first Facebook video went up about 12 years ago, and it has been seen by 80 million people. That is bananas and
It is.
amazing. Our conversation today is going to focus on the critical role that art teachers play in helping our children develop their creative capacities and hold on to them through adulthood. So I'm excited to be in conversation with you. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
It's 7:30 p.m. my time in the States, and where you are in Perth, it's 8:30 a.m. the next
That's right.
day. So that's
Yes.
kind of interesting. Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so we start every conversation thinking of research or researcher that you lean on when it comes to art education or art in general. Can you share that with listeners?
I don't know that I have a researcher or anything like that, who's written books, and it's really just looking at the way other art teachers do things. Um, I think drawing on my primary school, being a classroom teacher for so many years helps as well, because you understand behaviour management, organisation, um, development levels of children, where they're at certain ages. Um, and because I've been teaching for so many years, I have been through so much professional development. You know, we're all focusing on John Hattie, or we're all focusing on this other person Lane Clark, or we're looking at their style of teaching and what they think's important. So I think because I've been teaching for so many years, I just draw on. It's become ingrained.
I think we take from the best, the more experience we have, and then impart it to our own practices. Um, I think it'd be really cool for you to bring us in to your art classroom. And I know I reached out to teachers, art teachers that I know, and they were interested to know the number of students that you typically work with, class size wise, and then how often you see classes over a week.
Sure. The school that I'm at is a medium um, number of students in WA, I guess. I've got about 400. Um, the school that I was at just before I came to this one, there were almost 1,000. So this is manageable, you know. I've got about 400 students, which is 14 classes, and in each class there's probably 25 to 30 kids, and I see them once a week for an hour.
Oh, wow. That's a nice chunk of time.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. You couldn't I don't understand. I hear people have, oh yes, I have, see 20 classes in a day for 30 minutes each. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah. So take us into your art space. What does your room look like, feel like? How do you set it up?
Um, well, it's a big room, and I have three storerooms. One is for the kiln, one is for paper and crafty sort of supplies, and the other I store the kids' artwork. And I have all my paints and other things like crayons, etc. Uh, I have a long trough sink. Um, I don't. I have the desk set up as three long groups, so three long
Okay.
sets of tables. Interactive whiteboard. I don't know. A trolley. I have a organized trolley with just what are staple things: color pencil, oh, not color pencils, just lead pencils, erasers, permanent markers, scissors, those sorts of things, which the kids just access themselves.
Do you have a meeting area where you all gather, or when you're teaching and modeling for kids, how do you navigate that?
Yes, I have a mat that as soon as they come into the classroom, the little ones and the big ones as well, we all gather on the mat. And I've got this thing where I call the roll and I have a question for the day, which would be, it could be anything. It could be, what are you dressing up for Halloween? Or it's just, rather than just calling out their names, I have a specific question, and or they can choose the question and everyone answers it. And it's
Oh,
just another way of getting to know the kids. What's your favourite this?
yeah.
Or what are you doing on the weekend? Just little things. And then I will run through what we're going to do for the day, the steps that we're going to follow, or that's where we gather when we're introducing a new artist. And I show all the images on the board. We talk about, what do they think? What do they feel? How do they think the artist created the work? Lots of talking
Creativity is fueled by discussion and conversation and
and observation.
also appreciation and models, observation and noticing. And it's interesting, Kate, I am in middle school this week and I am coaching in high schools as well. And we're finding that students, as they get older, have a very difficult time slowing down to notice without jumping to inference and talking about what they think behind the work, and just naming first, what do you see? What do you notice about that piece? it's just so interesting, and it's a critical skill that we have as we grow older to observe and to take in the world around us. It's just interesting. I'm glad you're doing that work at a young age.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's the most important. And um, I've said if there's one thing that I want the kids to be able to do when they leave me is to notice how many colours are in that leaf. What are the what? How are the branches? Just looking at things. Art's all around us. You just have to open your eyes, and that's what I hope to get through.
Well, and there it is. And so the other piece that teachers were reaching out to me to ask you is, where do you draw your inspiration from for the projects? And I would say what I would consider challenging as an art teacher or a specials teacher, you're working with such a range of ages. So how do you choose the artists you're going to study? Is that someone you're studying K-5 or across all grades? How do you tend to that, like, diversity that you're looking for?
Um, well, I guess my focus, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons that people follow me, I don't know, it is because I have a strong focus on finding Australian contemporary artists. Um, I think that's really important for my kids because I want them to connect to the artist and I want them to be able to even like the other day we were doing a West Australian artist and she has a few murals around the town in the city and around where I teach, which is close to Fremantle. One of the kids went, "Oh, we went for coffee on the or breakfast on the weekend, and we were driving down the street, and we saw Anya Brock's mural." And I said to Mum, "That mural was done by Anya Brock. I know her, and I know this." And I like the fact that they can see something, recognise the artist, talk to their parents about it. Can I tell you a little story? Actually,
Yeah, I would love that.
I was staying at a hotel just in Fremantle, and it's a beautiful, beautiful old hotel. It's 4 stories high, and it's got this staircase that goes up. It's called the National Hotel, and they have a stairway gallery. So I was going up the stairs, and I saw this artwork, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I love that," and that would be something that my kids would love as well. So that's the other thing. I try to find things that I think, "Oh, they would love to investigate that." And, so I took note of the artist, took a couple of photos. When I got home, I looked her up on Instagram, and I saw that she was already following me, and I thought and she lives in the UK. So I started going through all her work, and I liked that, and I liked that, and I saved that, and then she sent me a message about 15 minutes later. She said, "Oh, thank you for following me. Um, I love what you do, and my grandchildren actually go to your school."
Are you
And
kidding?
she's all the way over in the UK. So we've now done a big project on her with one of her grandson's classes, and, um, we've had this connection. So we've spoken to her on Zoom, and anyway, she's coming to visit the family in 2 weeks, so she's gonna come into the classroom and see the work that the kids have done that's inspired by her, and yeah, I love that.
So, that I love that. What a small world. That's amazing, and I think
Yes.
it speaks to the connection that art is a connector, um, and so beyond inspiration, it is a common thread that we can have conversation around and fall in love around. That's amazing. Something I've always wondered because going from being a primary classroom teacher to an art teacher, I feel like in the classroom, there's such a fixation on assessment. And I've always been interested to ask art teachers, art is so subjective. How do you assess art, and at what age do you have kids start to self-assess their own artwork?
Well, self-assessment, I think, starts from the very beginning. What do you like about your work?
Okay.
You know, if you had to do this again, what would you do differently? All of that is self-assessment. So that starts from when they're little. Um, and as they get older, we do a lot of peer assessment as well. But as far as actually assessing work, when I begin a project, we look at when we're investigating the artist's work and looking at everything that we see, we talk about which of the elements of art are in there. What will we be covering? What will be our focus? And if we wanted to create an artwork in that artist style, but still maintaining our own individuality, what are the things that you see in all of the pieces of artwork? So, what's common for that style? So we will create a list of criteria. In your artwork, you will need to have to show this and this and this. So when it comes to assessment, they know what is being assessed. They know that if they include all of those things, it will be a C. If they then can do this and add and then, say, well, actually, I used this color next to this color because I think they're complementary and they're going to pop and whatever, then that might be a B. So, but if they meet the criteria, which is there on the board for them to see for the whole way through the project, then they'll be successful.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think I love that self-assessment is at the forefront beyond before and all around the grade. Because if you're asking yourself, what you would do differently, I could think of I like to paint and I can think of the paintings I've done and what I would do differently about them or with them, and it's you can always go back and revise, and I feel like I guess another piece I wonder is, are you often trying to add literacy pieces into the art you're teaching, or how do you connect to what the kids are studying in their primary classroom?
We do a lot of actually not a lot, but there are times when the teacher will say, in class the kids have invented a creature. We're doing our writing project about that. Can you, in art, get them to create that creature? So, things like that. So we'll talk. So the writing is happening in the classroom. We'll also do like there are particular artists that we I've enjoyed looking at, and there's this one Australian artist. He's called Mulga, Mulga. He creates these incredible creatures, animals, but they're all Australian animals. Well, no, they're not all Australian. But anyway, he'll write a story about the artwork that he's made. And so I think that that's really important that the kids can see that there's a connection to a story. And I do that with most projects. They're telling a story through what they're creating. So we talk about the story that the artist might have. They make up the story because often, obviously you're interpreting the artwork, but then they want to tell their own story through their artwork.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Um, another question that a teacher from the States had is it's around mentoring new teachers. And how do Australian schools in general help and support new teachers? Is there a formalized mentorship system that you have in place?
Not really. We do have the Art Education Association, so that has the information, contacts, workshops, etc. Um, I know quite a few experienced art teachers who, including myself, we welcome people to come and watch us for the day. Um, and when I first started out, I did the same thing, went to another art teacher's classroom and watched. Um, and along with two other art teachers, we ran a business called um, Art Sparks, and we teach art to art teachers. Ideas, we'll look at different artists and skills and techniques. So we ran some workshops, but it's not formalized.
Ah, that's helpful. I also wonder, what would if you when you're looking at art education throughout the world, what surprises you about what's happening with art education in Australia versus the rest of the world?
I don't know if I can answer that question really. I do follow a lot of art teachers all over the world. Um,
Yeah,
the ones that really appeal to me are the ones that are doing something a little bit different, a little bit out of the box. Um, I'm a little bit tired of seeing pumpkins, fall, autumn leaves, fall leaves. There's a lot of
yeah,
repetition that goes on, I think.
yeah.
And I'm not saying that
What's
in a
what
snobby
what
way.
are some of No, what are some of the out of the box patterns or trends you're seeing that you think, "Oh, that's interesting, that's fresh. I'd like to try that myself."
I saw one this morning actually. Her name is, I don't know the teacher's name, but it's made in Kalturka. And she'd had the kids all bring in a jumper, and they were appliquing on these really cool felt designs, big eyes, and um, I just thought that's pretty cool. I love seeing different
Yeah,
sculptural things. People that are exploring artists that are maybe more contemporary. Yes, I do think it's important that we look at the masters, Van Gogh, Picasso, Monet, etc. Um, but I think and that could very well engage kids, but the same projects have been done and done and done and done. And I think that you can learn about them as who they were without replicating Starry Night or, you know what I mean? Like, we
yeah,
can look at
I do.
that style of painting, but it might be done by this person, and we can compare.
Another art teacher asked a question, and this is interesting because you have provided professional learning for adults. So I think a lot about children that love art in elementary school, and then as we grow older, a lot of times creativity is quelled for a myriad of reasons. What do you think we can do to instill a strong sense of creativity with our children so they will carry it through as adults and to believe in themselves?
Um, I just think that they need to experience the joy. With everything they do, I want them to be proud. I want them to have felt the joy of creating. I want them to experiment with different materials and different ways of doing things. Um, I want them to have, by the time they leave me, I want them to be autonomous in the way they, like my year sixes, I might give them a challenge and say, make a bird that is 3D and has multiple parts, make it out of cardboard and make it hang from the ceiling. So they can access anything in the classroom, and they might work in a group. So they think, right, well, I could do this. And they go into the room that's full of all the little boxes of bits and pieces, craft supplies, and find that and find that. They know where the glue is and they know where this is. I think giving them the autonomy to be able to create might lead them later in life to go, "Oh, well, look at that. I could make that with that." But I would also say that, if they've seen if they've been exposed to going to places like the art gallery, and next Friday, I'm taking all my year fives, we're going into Perth City, and we're doing a street art tour. So it's down laneways and, seeing all of these amazing mural artists. It's just making them see art is everywhere.
I find when I feel stuck with writing or with like feeling inspired, if I try something create with painting or drawing or pottery, your brain almost refocuses or reboots to be able to engage in other ways. And the whole time when I'm creating, in the back of my mind, I'm also processing what I was stuck with. So, for me, it's a way to open up flow,
Yes.
again for myself, and that's what I find fascinating. I have a couple of lightning round questions I'd love to
Okay.
ask you just to see your gut reaction.
Oh gosh.
So what would you say, no, it's okay. So what would be the biggest misconception you think is out there when it comes to art education?
That all we do is colour in. That the kids aren't learning anything.
Well, you've disproven that already, right? What's one supply as an art teacher you cannot live without?
I'm obsessed with acrylic paint pens.
What's your top tip as an art teacher that you lean on all the time?
Organisation, I guess, and routines. Yeah, they kn as soon as they know what they have to do, they know what they have to do when they come in, they know what they have to do when they pack up. They know that this is how I like everything put back in the trolley. It's developing routines is everyone's superpower, I think. You've gotta have them.
It is. I agree. Um, and so, Kate, I know you're very active on Facebook, very active on Instagram. How else can people get in touch with you if they want to continue this conversation?
Um, well, really just via Instagram and Facebook. Um, if you want a conversation. And I've always said, if you see something on my page and I haven't, I'll often explain the steps that we went through, or I'll put a link to a Canva presentation where I've set it out, step by step. But if I haven't done that, I've often said, just message me. I'm happy to run through the process of anything, or chat.
You are wonderful, and I reached out to you because you've inspired me for a long time. I love your videos. I love the step by step because that's where you're giving access into your space for your children. But the art you post is so inspiring to see just that creativity. And I can't thank you enough for all you do. I know a lot of teachers in the States right now are very, they're feeling pretty demoralized and undervalued. So, what would you offer as an art teacher colleague to wrap our conversation to inspire them?
Just remember the joy that you bring, you know?
Yeah,
I
I
get
would have to
emotional
agree.
thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and for me, it's seeing the children leave the art room feeling really proud
Yeah,
of themselves. And carrying that throughout the day with them. There's a moment when you're with those children each week, um, you're inspiring them to carry that nugget of pride, creativity,
yes.
thinking outside of the box into everything they do as learners. So that's why art teachers are everything for our children. They're a creative outlet. Um, and the idea of think of the choice that you offer children, there's not ever a one right way. to create a piece of art.
Yeah.
It's the self-expression too, right? So, Kate, thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. It's been lovely.
Solutions Teaching Strategies is created, produced, and edited by me, Olivia Wall. Thank you to my older son, Benjamin, who created the music playing in the background. You can follow and listen to Solutions wherever you get your podcasts, or subscribe to never miss an episode and watch on YouTube. Thank you to my guest, Kate Driscoll, for sharing why art education really matters. And here's my invitation. If Kate's approach to art education inspired you, here is your next step. This week, take your students or yourself on a noticing walk. Don't create anything, just observe. How many colors can you find in a single leaf? What patterns do shadows make? Start building that foundation of observation that Kate says is the cornerstone of all creative work. And if you want to see Kate's incredible student artwork and teaching process, follow her on Instagram or Facebook. Just search Kate Driscoll, Art Teacher Life. I'll put all the details in the show notes. Email me at solutionspodcast@gmail.com to share your stories. Don't forget to tune in every Monday for the best research-backed coaching and teaching strategies you can apply right away to better the lives of the children in your care. And stay tuned for my bonus episodes every Friday, where I'll reflect and share connections to what I learned from the guests that week. Until next time, remember, art is everywhere. You just have to open your eyes.